A wise professor in my seminary years once told me that one of the issues that he has with atheists, and I guess many people in general, is that often they don't believe in God because they are not astounded by the beauty and greatness of humanity. They have such a low view of human beings. In other words, it's much harder to believe in God if one cannot contemplate and are not astonished by how amazing we truly are as human beings. Something I've been meditating on, especially recently, just being in my early 30s. I'm at the age where a lot of my closest friends are getting married or are already married. This time last year I was had a ridiculous schedule of celebrating a friend's wedding almost every week for several months. And one of the difficult and enjoyable aspects of that was they all knew each other, so I had to practically come up with a new wedding homily every week, lest I was caught repeating myself. But being a year or more now from that time, the next season of life has come for many of them, where a baby is now brought into the world, and a large part of my social life now outside the parish has been visiting these new families and their new babies. And it's been such a joy, including also my own brother who had a child recently. It's just led me to reflect on just how amazing and beautiful human beings are. So first and foremost, how does this relate to the gospel today? Because it's about a man possessed with an unclean spirit. And Jesus is presented as an exorcist who drives unclean spirits away by his own authority. Well, just on one level, at least on a meta level, it's revealing several things just about, firstly, reality and who we are. That we are bodily and spiritual beings. Notice that Catholic word "and" again, if you were here last week. And secondly, that there is such thing as a spiritual world. We say that we believe in that which is visible and invisible, that there is a transcendent reality beyond the visible and material, which of course includes the reality and realm of angels and demons and unclean spirits, as we heard in the gospel today. Now it's funny because so much of our culture, despite their supposed lack of faith, have a very keen interest in this area. If you look at some of the most listened podcasts and interviews on Catholic media channels, some of the most watched videos or interviews are of those of priest exorcists being interviewed. It's getting millions of views on some of these channels, and I can personally tell you, just even on a personal level, how easy it is to capture the attention of an audience, whether it's in a classroom or at a dinner table, when this topic of unclean spirits are brought up, when we're sharing testimonies or stories of these occasions. For many at these times, if they say they don't believe, but from my experience, when this topic comes up, I have full attentiveness, and I can just tell by the reaction that at least I get a sense that deep down I know that they believe that there is at least something more. But when we think about eliminating God from just our daily lives or buffering out that sense of the spiritual and transcendent in our daily awareness, we also have this sense that we also remove an essential part of our human nature, of who we are as human beings. We kind of depreciate our nature of human beings, of who we are in the image and likeness of God. That ultimately we will have that lingering sense that something is missing in life, something profoundly unfulfilled and undiscovered. So you're looking at a newborn baby. One of the beautiful things is that, yes, there's so much wonder and awe and joy at looking at this new life. But then such wonder should ought to lead us to ponder on a much deeper mystery, and that's to ask ourselves that real deep question: who really is this child at its deepest level? Is he or she, however cute they are they just a lovely and adorable lump of material stuff? Now, C.S. Lewis, one of my favourite writers, one of the most remarkable Christian writers and intellectual giants in the 20th century, said, "There are no ordinary people. You have never talked to a mere mortal." It's one of my favourite quotes from him. There are no ordinary people. You have never talked to a mere mortal. And he goes on to say, nations, cultures, art, civilization, these things, they're all mortal. and their life is to ours as the life of an insect. But it is immortals whom we joke with, immortals whom we work with, marry, snub, and exploit, immortal horrors or everlasting splendors. Really what Lewis is saying there is that each and every one of us are really immortal beings made for heaven. Such an amazing thought that each and every one of us began as fertilized eggs, so small and indistinct, but even then, and already then, immortality is already imprinted. And then we grow up to be the various and beautiful men and women who are sitting among us today. And just looking at us, just the sheer stupendous variety of all the people born, each of us unique and special in our own ways, that there is only one you and one me in the world. We meditate and just think about things like the Opera House or the Harbour Bridge, however astonishing and splendid they are, still we are greater than they. You look at even the billions and stars and galaxies and all the constellations in the sky, the grandeur of God's creation on full display. It can also make us feel very small and tiny in this universe, but small and tiny as we are, still we are greater than they. You have never talked to a mere mortal. C.S. Lewis then says that next to the Blessed Sacrament itself, your neighbour is the holiest object presented to your senses. Next to the Blessed Sacrament, your neighbour is the next holiest object presented to your senses. So this reason why Catholics have such a reverence and care for the dignity of the human person from womb to tomb, from conception to natural death. It's also why we're called to love our neighbours, especially those who are hardest to love, because each and every one of us are to be reverenced as being destined for immortality. But, as the gospel of the unclean spirit suggests, not everything that is immortal is also good. There are two immortal destinies, as Lewis aptly put it, immortal horrors or everlasting splendors. And it's why also in our baptism we are exhorted to keep the dignity of our humanity unstained unto the everlasting life of heaven. So no matter how much we're called to enjoy and bask in the goods of this world as reminders of the goodness of God, we also remind ourselves, at least on this day, that these are passing and ephemeral things, that because we are not mere mortals, we are made for everlasting splendor. Let us turn to the Blessed Sacrament as the other holiest object apart from ourselves as we turn towards the liturgy of the Eucharist. Amen.